United Nations says dozens of people have been injured while trying to access food in Gaza. The injuries occurred when thousands of hungry Palestinians overran an aid distribution site set up by a controversial US and Israeli-backed group. Ahmed Bayram is the Middle East spokesperson for the Norwegian Refugee Council, and he joins me now from Amman. Ahmed Bayram, thank you for your time today. Now, we saw these chaotic scenes in Gaza as thousands of Palestinians overran that distribution site that's run by the Gaza Humanitarian Front. Can you just tell us what happened with this particular incident?
Of course, part of what you described there, and also there was 5 narrow corridors. There were, metal barriers, sort of corridors that people had to pass through in order to get food for the first time in months. Of course, with the numbers, with desperation and the huge numbers that attended, there was a quick descent into chaos. The situation descended into confusion, chaos, and then people stormed the barriers and got hold of the food aid. Of course, some people were able to grab a few food parcels while others could not get anything. In summary, it was a day of chaos. Israelis fired warning shots in the air, and then helicopters hovered above the crowds. There were reports, like you described, of injuries, of people running in all directions, and the place was stormed. The fences were taken down. It was chaotic, and this bad idea got off to a really chaotic start.
Yes. Now, what can you tell us about the group that was responsible for distributing this aid? It's called Safe Reach Solutions, and it's responsible for delivering aid that has been funded by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What can you tell us about this, the company and this group?
There's a notable lack of transparency, I have to say, around this company or contractor or service provider. However, of course, we have been saying that a military/private company cannot be distributing aid, and that's the situation there. Israel has backed this idea. It's not clear where this, the aid support is coming from. It's not clear who's behind it. But on the ground, it's a group of military people, a group of security personnel providing aid to the people. Of course, that's a red flag for us, because you can't, provide aid when not a professional aid worker. It simply doesn't work, and we saw the results. So there's a lot of, I'd say, the vague nature of this entity makes it even more worrying for us that it's actually serving a military and a political purpose here, and it's deployed directly by Israel.
Yes, and would you say that, many analysts have said that, Israel is weaponizing aid? To see a group like that perhaps shows very little skill and experience in delivering aid, it's quite evident from the pictures we have been seeing.
Indeed, and aid is not just a box of food that you hand out. It's not just a bag of flour that you hand out and go home. It's a complex process. We go through the most stringent processes anywhere, on planet Earth, really, from the moment that we load up our trucks until the moment that we offload those trucks and give aid to people. There has to be trust building here. There has to be sort of relationship building. My colleagues in Gaza, they are aid workers, but they are also displaced Palestinians themselves. They wake up in the morning, leave their tent where they have been displaced, and go and distribute aid to people who need it. So I think that the entire idea here is for Israel to take over aid, to provide some little food. And by the way, the food parcels that were given, I was told, can't last an average family for more than 2 or 3 days. And they were supposed to keep that for an entire week until they are being called to receive the second batch. So
yes.
We hope that this plan is reversed. We hope it's cancelled because it's a very bad idea.
Yes, and do you see this as an effort by the US and Israel to completely bypass organizations like yourselves and the UN?
I think so. I think it's clear. When you look at the model that they are proposing to do aid in the most, probably the furthest point away from where people are, in Rafah. Rafah is the southernmost city in Gaza, and by the way, Rafah is off limits. It's a combat zone, so people are not allowed to go there. So Israel has emptied Rafah, asked people, displaced people, all the way to the central areas, and now it's calling on people to walk back down that coastal strip to receive aid again. That's not just bypassing, that's damaging aid. That's damaging the systems that we have. That's damaging the neutrality. Aid is supposed to go to people, not the opposite, not the other way around. People can't be asked to walk for 20 miles in order to get hold of a bag of flour. It shouldn't be like that. And that's why
Ahmed,
we take issue with that.
Yes, I do want to ask as well now, the Gaza Foundation, they are using armed security contractors for the work that they're doing there in Gaza. What do you make of the use of arms? Is this at all a standard procedure for other aid groups as well? Do they have armed security with them when they distribute aid? Can you give us, expand your understanding of this for us?
I think that flies in the face of any neutrality, independence, or impartiality. Our aid that we give takes place in the most dangerous zones. We have been asking to be protected by civilian police all this time, for at least for the convoys that we are passing through or we're driving through Gaza, to be protected, to be spared from attacks. We have seen looters take over aid. Aid can't happen under the force of arms or under the force of guns. And that's why we are saying you can't be the occupier and the feeder at the same time. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. We have refused to work in any conditions, under any conditions like this, in any conflict zone where we work. And we refuse to do that again. So again, spare us your plans and let us do our job. Let us do our very important job. There's enough aid waiting to cross that could fill 10 football pitches. Let that food in and let people be relieved and let the children feed.
And finally, Ahmed, I'm interested to know what your colleagues on the ground have been observing, because we are seeing so many reports of Gaza being on the brink of famine. Is it possible that a famine actually occurs if things remain the way they do right now?
Very, very possible. That's what we are hearing. The forecast, even the worst nightmare, we can imagine that it's going to come to that. But the entire population is on the verge of starvation. Acute malnutrition is a huge phenomenon now in Gaza. If I tell you some of the prices on the market, you probably think it's unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense. 1 kilogram, 2 pounds of onions now costs $50 US. And a bag of bread could cost you $10. Tomatoes, the same. People have to, live with, or cook with, or make bread with infested flour. That's the reality. And now summer approaching, the heat is going to be another problem. And children, of course, will be on the verge of death because of starvation. We have seen images of children reduced to skin and bones, and no child should live suffering like this. It has to stop.
Okay, it's an awful situation. Ahmed Bayram, really thank you for your time today.
Thank you.